Good morning, good afternoon, hello to everyone listening to this podcast, whatever time it may be at the moment. I am Jonesy. It is another episode 5 of the Sporting Fix. And throughout the week, there's been a lot of, news happening around sport, around the AFL and cricket, and we'll be dissecting that today. Let's get straight into it, I guess. We'll start with the AFL finals, which occurred on the weekend. Started on Thursday, the 7th of September. Collingwood and Melbourne. Collingwood reigning supreme by 7 points. But before that happened, it's still present at the moment, but the Demons, they're trying to become the first team since the Crows in 1997 to win the premiership from 4th position. So it's still a chance. But I guess that was dampened from the loss to Collingwood. That means they're going to have to go the long way. They'll have to play in the semi, then the prelim, and then the grand final without getting a week off, which Collingwood are receiving. And then another little stat before we, dissect the game. Collingwood, they're 13-0 when leading at three-quarter time this year. So we already know about the damaging effects they have when they're trailing, but we also now know that, and we have known for a while, that when they have a lead, they can hold it. And as a minor premiership team, you would expect that to be the case, and you'd expect it to be the case in the future as well. So I guess Collingwood clearly won. They won by 7 points, and it was absolutely ideal that they win this game, as Dacos is going to gain an extra week of recovery, and he will be fully fit for the prelim. That is as crucial as Collingwood can get. It is the best result they can get. Having a break, allowing their best player to have an extra break recovery, and he'll be back for the prelim, which is so crucial. That just, enhances their chances of making it to the grand final and probably going all the way. But let's get straight into the game. Collingwood versus Melbourne. We'll dissect the match even further. So we started off, the crowd, they were electric despite the weather. It wasn't ideal weather for, a final, but the crowd, they made it ideal. There was 90,000+ in the house, and it was just a great game to watch and be a part of. Bobby Hill kicked the first 2 goals and sent the G into fire, really. He put everyone off their seat and produced a real electricity within the G. And we'll get straight into it. So I'm not going to mince my words. Maynard, the incident he had nothing in it, in my eyes. A lot of people have different opinions and perspectives on it, but I think at the end of the day, he was protecting his body after attempting a smother, right? So he was trying to do something for his team, trying to smother the kick, stopping the ball moving forward in a sense, and unfortunately it was a sad result, him collecting Brayshaw, and Brayshaw, he was seeing stars for a couple of minutes, knocked out cold, and he'll miss weeks, and I feel like that's the reason Maynard will get reported and sent to the tribunal and therefore receive however many weeks he will get. Unfortunately, I don't think he deserves weeks off and a suspension, but I feel like he will get it due to the fact that Brayshaw came off very, very unlucky. But it's a big impact on Melbourne as well, because he's going to miss a few weeks at Angus Brayshaw. And that is crucial. He's such a big part of the team. He's a really, really dynamic with the way he plays football. Him and Van Ruin are going to miss a week, and Melbourne will be ruining that right now. We'll get to that later. But if Maynard misses a grand final because of that knock, someone clock me across the scone with a baseball bat, because I don't want to hear that news full of dribble ever. I feel like he was just trying to help his team. He protected his body, and he couldn't have done... You can't expect him to just disappear in thin air. So, unfortunately, that's how it happened. And, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the future holds for Braden Maynard. But we go to the start of the game. It was mayhem to start it. There was a scare for De Goey, but he was all right. Dan McStay got hit on the head but returned for the start of the second quarter. It was a lot to endure in that first part of the game, and that's what we were expecting. It's finals footy. You expect it to be fast, furious, and it certainly was. 26-6 at quarter time in favour of the Pies. Petrarca, he struggled with the first half with 7 disposals. He wasn't having an impact, but that's what Collingwood bring. They bring furiosity, I guess, in all aspects of the game. In defensive, their pressure is elite. No matter what team they come across, they just rip them to pieces. But we go back to the hit on Maynard and everything. It's such a big issue at the moment. It's probably one of the biggest tribunal cases of the year. We want consistency in the tribunal. We know that. Lynch knocked out Alex Keith a similar way and he got off. So I feel like Maynard should too. We know Van Ruin, he'll miss a week, which is a big miss for the Ds. But it's just, we want consistency, and if we do witness that, Maynard will get off, but I have a feeling he won't, unfortunately. But Melbourne, we go into there as a team, right? So they had 30 more, around about 30 more inside 50s than Collingwood, but they still fall short. I mean, they just don't change. Throughout the game, they just bomb it inside 50, hoping for the best. They're not willing to change. And you hear comments about, oh, this is the Melbourne way, or this is how we play. Well, you've got to start changing it, because if that's the only way you go about playing footy, if that's the only way you enter the forward 50, even the worst of teams will read you like a book. If you just bomb it inside 50, the defenders exactly know what you're going to do. They need to find other areas, other paths to hit the scoreboard, and they just didn't do it. If the Pies had 30 more inside 50s, they went by about 12 goals because of how efficient they are inside 50, but Melbourne aren't. So that was a real issue for Melbourne on that night. Hopefully they can change in the semi. But yeah, it's very disappointing considering they're a top 4 team. You need to use the pill well inside 50. Unfortunately, they didn't. So it's disappointing for them, but they do get another chance finishing 4th. So they'll take on Carlton at the MCG. But now we go to the Carlton match and Sydney at Melbourne on Friday night. Carlton winning by just 6 points. The Swans banner, it was interesting because they just disintegrated. The banner was disintegrated. It was unfortunate time for them, but I guess resembled the way they played. They weren't that efficient at all in front of the scoreboard. 9 goals, 14. Carlton were all over him like a rash. Cottrell, he was really, really positive, I thought. His intent of forward pressure, he was so intense. He took it to every player that came his way. Sam Walsh, he was able to break the door open at half time. And I guess when the Sherrin was hit the deck, the Swans were at sea. Like, the Blues ran riot through the Swans. The last quarter, the Blues, I guess they weren't playing how they play. Sydney sort of got on top of them in the last quarter, but it sort of, luckily they got away with it. They were a bit hesitant. They were a bit nervous. And especially with that late drama when McLean kicked the goal with 25 seconds left to get it to 6 points, people start thinking, oh boy, is this a comeback for the ages? But not to be. Jack Martin coming in clutch with a couple of crucial marks in the defensive 50. And Blake Acres, the game of his life. How good did he play? 26 disposals, a goal with it. In a final, that is certainly one way to, I guess, keep your fans positive about the way you go about your business. 11 contested possessions. And yeah, he was just really, really positive. 16 pressure acts. He was just all over him. 5 clearances. And you couldn't have asked for a better match with him. Blakey, I'd say, held his own, but apart from that, Sydney were a little bit depleted. Unfortunately for them, they only had one chance and they blew it. So Sydney out of the finals and Carlton to face Melbourne at the MCG on Friday night, which the fixture has been released a couple of days ago, 7:50 prime time on Fridays, where Carlton and Melbourne will host. St Kilda and GWS, I should say, on Saturday afternoon. It was just a bit disappointing in terms of St Kilda point of view. They literally had everyone in the stands in the red, white and black, but it was laid out for Cornelio, so I was a little bit hesitant because of that laid out. We know how crucial he is. St Kilda, I feel like they would have loved that news coming to them. But the Giants, it was really positive to see without their main man that they could hold themselves up. It's the first time these two have met each other in a final in the history of the AFL. And before, I guess, we go into the game, there was news before the game that stated that Liam Henry has decided to head to St Kilda as his new home. So even though they had a loss, I feel like you can look at that and say Liam Henry at St Kilda, you'd feel as if that's a good pickup for the Saints. But Rowan Marshall, he had as good as a start you will ever see. He was all over the Giants, and he was all over everyone. He finished with 18 hit-outs, 31 disposals for a ruckman is beyond expectations. And then he hit the scoreboard as well with 1 goal, but no one really followed after him until later in the match where Steele got 38 disposals. But it was sort of him that set the tone early, but the problem was no one came after him. If people started to follow his actions, St Kilda would have potentially got off to a crucial start and therefore got on the scoreboard and potentially won the game. But the lack of skill from GWS, I guess, was a credit to Saints' pressure at the start. But then the Giants, they were mature enough, they adapted, and then the tables reversed and the Saints were under pressure from then onwards until the end of the game. The Giants, they got the reward on the scoreboard early. They just had all the territory, and it was led by Tom Green and Lockie Ash. I mean, you can't go past the game without focusing on these two people. 31 disposals for Ash, 35 for Tom Green. They continue to impress, and there's not much more to be said from there. It was 8 unanswered goals to the Giants, and which sent the crowd silence. You could almost hear a pin drop at the MCG when the Giants were all over the Saints. But the Saints, with a bit of a momentum shift late in that second to put the pressure back on the Giants, but it just kept the door open. But the Giants, they just streamed forward, and from just lack of effort, lack of pressure, or a slip tackle, which really was witnessed from the Saints. Giants, they make teams pay. It's as simple as that. I feel like they may be even able to smell just a prelim final. Port, they'll know we're a little bit vulnerable, and the Giants are on top of everything at the moment. Port with a sickening loss to the Brisbane Lions. So the Giants will be feasting and drooling for that match in a couple of days' time. So disappointing for the Saints, ecstasy for the Giants. And we'll get to the last game of the AFL first week of finals, Brisbane and Port Adelaide. Before going into the game, we want to just talk about Jasper Fletcher. His first final, he was a real standout. He's only 19 years old, but he kicked 3 goals, and that is as good as you could ask. He was running both ways as he should as a winger, which was very positive to see. He was helping out the defence. He was helping out the offence. Obviously, kicking 3 goals is very, very positive. Brisbane, they absolutely rolled the power, which was a big statement, right? So they win by 48 points at home. They'll host a prelim at home, which they do not lose. So everything they touch turned to gold. It's seen that they've won 50 of their last 58 matches at the Gabba. So any teams that's heading to the Gabba, they should be very, very scared because they are a crucial team. They're a very threatening team, and at home they are as threatening as they come. But accuracy is everything. We talk about this quite often. 19 goals and 9, 123 is as accurate as you could get, pretty much. No, they didn't look like missing. There's a snowball's chance in hell that you get a debut like that from Fletcher. He was all over everything. I can't get past the kid, but Port, they weren't able to cope with the pressure in front of the goals. Weight of entries going for the Lions. It was just all Brisbane, you must admit. McCluggage, he was absolutely unbelievable. Rayner was superb. They just couldn't contain him. He kicked 3 goals, and Brisbane absolutely in the box seat to go to the G, perhaps possess the cup at the end of the month. They will host the prelim at the Gabba where they don't lose. So it's massive for them. They have a week off. They can recover, reset, and recharge, and hopefully for them go all the way and potentially hold the cup for the first time in quite a long time. So that wraps up the first week of finals. Thankfully I got all 4 tips correct. I was pretty happy with that. And before we go to the cricket, I just want to talk about my tips for the week 2 of finals in the semis. So, Melbourne hosting Carlton. I previously said Carlton, I think, will get the job done, and I'm still staying with that, only sheerly because of the suspension. So, you've got Brayshaw out due to concussion. He is massive for Melbourne. You've got Van Rooyen out, who's a big player. I know Jack Martin is out, which is big, but I just feel like the two that Brayshaw and Van Rooyen are out, which is huge for the Demons, it's just going to, I guess, tip me over the line to pick Carlton. It'll be very vast with the thoughts on this game. It'll probably be 50-50 with who wins. But I just, get the feeling Carlton win. It's their first finals for Patrick Cripps, and he's a veteran, so that just shows how many people for Carlton have not played in a final. So you'd imagine they would be up and about trying to get into the prelim. I'd be very happy if Carlton win, considering I tipped them, but I would not be surprised if Melbourne win also. And then we go to the second game, Port Adelaide versus the Giants. I feel like Port will win, but I'm certainly not confident in jumping over rainbows at the moment if I were Port, because no team, I don't care who it is, would want to be versing the Giants right now. They are on a dangerous run. The turnaround they have gathered, the Giants and Adam Kingsley, is as scarce as a hen's teeth. Not often do you see this, but I just feel like with the home crowd advantage and the team that Power have, I'm not putting my house on it, but I am feeling the way that Port Adelaide will get the job done. They finished third, Giants finished 7th at the Adelaide Oval. It's just too risky to go against them, but I certainly wouldn't be surprised if the Giants win, that's for sure. So they're my tips. That's the wrap-up of the first week of finals. Whoever you go for, I hope you, enjoyed the finals. There's not much to not enjoy about that week. And it's going to be an interesting ending to a final series. But before we stop there, we want to go into the cricket, a different side of sport. Cricket, the tour of South Africa, Australia, the ODIs. It was a lot to take in. So game 1, Australia, they win by 3 wickets off the back of Marnus Labuschagne entering the side from a disappointing exit of Cam Green due to concussion. But yet again, he's just trolling selectors right now. He scored 80 off 93 balls. Unfortunate for Green, him getting concussed, but I guess it's allowed Marnus to get another chance, and boy, he only needs one chance to take it. He's a lead at getting one chance and using it, so good on him. And then he backed it up with 124 runs in the second game. But I want to go to this first game where it was Josh Hazlewood with 3 wickets for 41, which I guess really helped and led the Aussies bowling attack in the first game, so that was good for him. And then obviously it was just really Marnus that helped the Aussies get over the line with the bat. Ashton Agar chipped in with 48 not out, but that's about it. Good on Marnus for, I guess, keeping his spot in the side for the second game, which we get to right now, in Australia thumping South Africa by 123 runs. Australia, they batted first and put on an enormous total of 392. Warner 106 and Marnus 124, but Josh Inglis also got a 50, which was nice to see. They scored quickly as well. That was the thing that stood out. Australia, they haven't been fast run scorers for quite some time in ODIs, but they certainly are now, and it's good to see. Hopefully they can be a threatening side for so many years to come. Marnus with a strike rate of 125. Warner 100 strike rate of 113, and Josh Inglis a strike rate of 135. So it is really crucial to score quickly, and 392 runs, no team, I don't care who you are, is going to chase that down. And then in reply, rolling South Africa for 269 off the back of 4 wickets from Adam Zampa. The new look with the Sunnies, not looking too bad for the Zamps. He'll be happy with that. I guess staying in cricket, moving away from Australia, I just want to point this bloke out. I love this bloke, right? So he's a West Indian. He is built like a Sherman tank, and his name is RAHKEEM Cornwall. I just can't get past this bloke. He deserves a shout out because he got hacked up by a number of people when he was dawdling down the wicket. It did seem as though you have to put a bomb under him to get him to move. But then he gave his wicket away with a run out, and I'm thinking, oh no, the poor bloke. He's just couldn't get across the crease in time. He was in another postcode when he got run out. But then this is the good thing. 16 days later, he mesmerised everyone, scoring a century to score a century after such a deplorable act is as good as it gets. And that is why RAHKEEM CORNWALL is officially my favourite player in cricket. RAHKEEM, I really hope you're listening to this. I don't know if you are, but if you are, I love you to bits, mate. You are as good as they come. He's just my inspiration. I can't get past this bloke. If you haven't seen the video, have a look at him score a century and have a look at the run out. He is such an influential player, I should say. And with the West Indies versing Australia in coming to Australia for a little bit over the summer, surely they get RAHKEEM down. I'd love to watch the bloke. You certainly can't miss him if he's within your vicinity, but he's just good to be a part of, good to witness, and good on him. So, yeah, I just had to point the bloke out. He's just so good. And, yeah, I guess that's sort of a little bit of a shorter episode. I guess that sort of wraps everything up. Australia, they verse tonight against South Africa in the ODIs for the third match out of 5. So that'll be interesting, 9 p.m. And then obviously there'll be 2 more after that. I feel like Australia, the way they're going, they'll win 5-0, which I wouldn't be surprised. Minus Labuschagne, most runs, 204, 44 runs ahead of the second. And then in the footy, 2 matches to be played. Carlton win for me, Port win also. So yeah, a lot to dive into, which we've done so again. So thank you everyone for listening. I hope you've had a wonderful day, and I'll see you next week.